Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind is a Vekoma Rides indoor coaster at Epcot in the Walt Disney World Resort in Orlando, Florida. It's currently Epcot's only roller coaster and their first ever, despite the park being open for over 40 years now. It's located in the World Discovery section of the park, just to the left of the park's entrance, where Spaceship Earth is located. It replaced Ellen's Energy Adventure and uses most of that building for the queue line and pre-shows, while an even bigger show building is used for most of the ride's layout behind it. It is currently the longest indoor roller coaster in the world at 5,577 feet long, speeds over 50 miles an hour, and a backwards launch to begin the experience. The ride just has a standard lap bar restraint, and it gives a good amount of airtime room and are also pretty comfortable. The ride is also considered to be an Omni coaster, which basically means the seats spin like a traditional dark ride would to show you a set piece, so you could be sideways, backwards, or forwards during the ride experience. The spinning is controlled, however, so it isn't like you would get super nauseous riding this coaster. The whole coaster is exceptionally well themed with practical effects as well as massive screens showing the Guardians trying to defeat the ride's antagonist, a Celestial, which is basically just the massive being from outer space. The idea of the ride is basically you are in an escape shuttle trying to track down the Celestial, who stole this device called the Cosmic Generator, which allows the user to transport through space and time. The ride also has tons of theming throughout the queue line and its main pre-show, which has a really cool effect of tricking you into thinking you've been transported onto another ship using the Cosmic Generator. You then enter the ride's massive station, which also has a lot to look at, and is dual loading for even more capacity. The ride also offers 6 different songs to listen to during your ride experience, which are randomly selected for you. These include Iran, Conga, Disco Inferno, One Way or Another, September, and Everybody Wants to Rule the World, which all work pretty well with the ride experience. Now that we got the basic info out of the way, let's see how it rides. The ride begins with a small lift hill and a turn into the ride's first jump point, where you are greeted by the Celestial and the Guardians in their ship. The ride vehicles then rotate while you are looking at the screens, and then you launch backwards into the main show building with the song kicking in at the same time. It is pretty dark in there, but when you're actually on the ride you see a decent amount of what's going on, especially with these massive screens that show you the storyline of the ride. The ride has many sharp hairpin turns and drops similar to Space Mountain, but this time the vehicles are rotating so you get some very unique sensations during the ride experience. There are some mid-courses on this ride to help boost its capacity, but you don't really slow down to them, so I don't really mind them. There also aren't a ton of standout elements on the ride either, but the ride flows really well and has some fantastic pacing, so you never really feel a down moment on the ride. About halfway through the ride, there is a second upwards booster launch as the Guardians are trying to contain the Celestial. Then there's this really cool moment where you have a helix around the moon, but you are facing the moon the entire time, and because the ride vehicles are sideways, causing a very unique feeling as well. The ride then ends with a tunnel appearing, and the Guardians make you honorary members for your brave efforts. I had only one ride in this attraction, mainly due to the virtual queue system, which I'll talk about in a bit, but I was literally crying with laughter the whole time because it was such a fun and surreal experience, which I didn't quite get on Hagrid's. That is why I put it slightly above Hagrid's in my overall rankings and put it in my top 7 of my 76 total coasters, only behind Velocicoaster for ones in Florida. So obviously this is a fantastic ride, but just how easy is it to ride at the moment? Well, at least in my experience, it's actually pretty dang hard. You either need a virtual queue reservation, which are at 7 a.m. and 1 p.m. daily, but you need to be in Epcot for the later one, or you can purchase Lightning Lane individually. Since we weren't at Epcot early enough for the 1 p.m. one and the 7 a.m. one sold out in literally 10 seconds, we were forced to buy the Lightning Lane for about $17 a person. Now, I will say for this ride it was worth it, and we only waited about 15 minutes, which was really good considering the spring break crowds. The virtual queue is definitely a buzzkill, however, but at least you don't have to wait for 3 hours if you do get the reservation. If you don't, though, you either have to pay even more, and then if that's all out, then you're out of luck, which is disappointing. Despite all this, however, the roller coaster is absolutely fantastic, and I cannot recommend getting to Epcot just to ride this coaster alone. Be sure to subscribe for more content and be on the lookout for more coaster reviews and other theme park videos in the near future.